Frederick Killmon was a U.S. Marine. He served in the Vietnam War, and actually next Wednesday on August 31st, it marks the 52nd anniversary of the day he volunteered to go with comrades up the side of a hill and was killed by an enemy sniper. While he was serving in Vietnam, I was born, and I was 10 months old when he was killed. And I never got to see my father, never got to meet him. I was adopted by an incredible family and raised in an amazing home. My father, Fred, was an only child, and I was his only child. And when he died and I was adopted, it seemed like life stopped for his parents, Russell and Audrey Killmon. If you can imagine, you sent your only child off to war, doesn't come home, and his only child has been adopted into a family. They believed, kind of in their grief, life was kind of, shall we say, difficult.
Challenging as well, yes.
Yeah. They experienced intense loss and grief as they tried to accept that they would live out their days as a family of two and no more. But an amazing thing happened, and through truly a series of divine appointments and interventions, which seem unreal if I had not lived it myself, when I was 8 years old, even though I had been adopted into a family and had lived 1,500 miles away, I got to meet my grandparents, Russell and Audrey Killmon, and from the day we met, healing in their hearts began. I am really condensing this part of the story because there's just no way to share everything that happened, and someday you can read the book. Okay. I don't know when the book's going to be written, but we keep talking about that. But it is an amazing story of how we met and how truly healing began in their hearts. And I got the amazing privilege of knowing my family, my birth family. What I discovered was that my father, Frederick Russell Killmon, was a brave and loyal soldier. In his letters home from Vietnam, he expressed his desire to make his country and his family proud. He knew very well the dangers of the sacrifice, and he willingly put his life on the line for his comrades. That fateful day in August 1970, he should not have been on the front line. He was days away from coming home, but he volunteered for the mission. My grandfather, Russell, was a pastor. He willingly stepped into the messes of people's lives and walked through many tragedies with his congregants and people in the community. He had an uncanny ability to weave wisdom and humor together. Isn't that always refreshing? The doorbell of their home rang constantly as people came for counseling, a good healing laugh, and comfort food around their dining room table, because food is healing too, right? My grandmother, Audrey, was a nurse. In fact, as her son was serving in Vietnam, getting an education in war, she was in nursing school, getting an education in healthcare. And I've read many letters back and forth between my father in Vietnam and my grandmother. He would write to her from the jungle of Vietnam, and she would write back to him during the night shift of her clinicals, sometimes in her pediatric rotation and sometimes in her psychiatric rotation. But in the middle of the night, in her night shift, she would write letters back to him. He was learning about how opposing political ideologies can lead to the ravages of war, and she was learning how disease and time ravaged the human body. What I found was that I came from a family of frontliners. If you found yourself in a military battle, you would want a comrade like my father, someone who was skilled and committed and willing to sacrifice everything to have your back. If you found yourself in a spiritual battle, you would want a pastor like my grandfather. Not because he was super spiritual, but because he knew firsthand what it meant to lose everything and still be faithful. Because he knew what it was like to experience the dark night of the soul, you would want someone like him alongside of you, interceding for you on your darkest hour. And if you found yourself in the battle of your health, you would want a nurse like my grandmother by your side. She was a brilliant woman. She understood the human body and the human condition. I saw her study and research, and even when physicians could not come up with a diagnosis, she could. And I saw her advocate for her patients. She led healthcare teams with the utmost of integrity and provided the highest quality of care as a supervisory nurse. I don't know what you see from your vantage point, but from where I sit, I see a world that is groaning. I see a world where we live in a lot of political unrest. We live in a world where people are experiencing a trauma of the soul. And we have healthcare needs that outweigh available resources. The Killmon Foundation is our way of honoring the heritage of the Killmon family and carrying on the legacy of valiant and faithful service to God and to faithful man. We aim to raise up a next generation of leaders who have the tenacity and fortitude to enter into the battlefront, whether it be a battlefront on a foreign soil, whether it be a battlefront in the human body, whether it be a battle of the soul. And as we share the story of the Killmon family and provide scholarships to exceptional young people, we hope to inspire the next generation of frontliners. People who are not afraid to enter the fray, whatever the battle might be. When my grandparents died, I felt like our story was over. We had lived this amazing story of getting to know one another, it was hard for me to feel like our story was over, and I was the only one left to carry on the memory and the spirit of this incredible family. I can remember standing at the Vietnam Wall in DC, looking at my father's name inscribed there among the more than 50,000 other names of his comrades that gave their lives in Vietnam, thinking, who else cares about him? Who else cares about his story? But then, through another series of divine interventions and appointments, I met Roger and Melanie Rosdahl. And Roger, Melanie's husband, was my father's platoon leader in Vietnam. He witnessed firsthand his bravery. He grieved his loss because he was there the day that he went up on that hill. And so I knew in meeting Roger and Melanie that there was someone who cared about my father, cared that his name was on the wall. and cared for our family, and they have helped us to carry on the legacy of the Killmon family. I have had the amazing and unexpected privilege of meeting my birth family and getting to be a part of their lives. I have had the amazing and unexpected privilege of meeting the comrades who served with my father in Vietnam. And at each chapter in this story that has unfolded throughout my life, I have felt incredibly humbled to be a part. I feel the same way today. Incredibly humbled to be a part of the next chapter and to receive this very gracious and generous donation. Your gift enables us to continue on investing in the next generation of frontliners. So from our family to yours, thank you.